In Pikmin 1, Olimar crash lands on an uncharted planet, and with the help of the Pikmin he is able to return home. But when he returns, he finds out that the company went bankrupt with no real means of recovery, until they come to the realization that the planet he escaped from is full of valuable artifacts, aka blatant product placements. So the president sends him right back. What a dick, right? Olimar didn't even get a chance to see his family again. For all they know, he's fucking dead. Pikmin 2's gameplay is largely similar to the original, and as such, it's awesome. Building up your army of Pikmin and then just fucking demolishing anything that gets in your way, it's incredibly satisfying. In case you haven't figured it out yet, the goal of the game is to collect what are called treasures, in order to get all the money and pull your company out of debt. Pikmin 2 runs circles around the first game in almost every respect. First and foremost, it's a much larger game. The most frustrating part about the original game was the fact that you could easily beat it in a day. Pikmin 2, such is not the case, as it's a much bigger game with a lot more stuff to find, and this is largely due to the inclusion of underground caves, which are basically dungeons that exist on each level. You'll find more shit in some of these caves than you'll find in an entire Pikmin 1 level. And on top of that, the game doesn't even have a time limit like the first game, which is awesome because it means that you don't have to worry about the game fucking you over if you take too long. Honestly, I just don't like the idea of a game having a time limit. The only time I enjoyed it was in Majora's Mask. Wow, what a great game that is. But I'm getting off topic. Pikmin 2 also introduces more Pikmin, like the Crackhead Pikmin, the Big Smoke Pikmin, and this fucking horrible thing. White Pikmin are immune to poison, and the purple Pikmin have the strength of 10. And these freaky fuckers are impervious to all elemental hazards. The white Pikmin can also see treasure that's completely buried underground. They also managed to make the Pikmin a lot more obedient in this one. In the first game, if the Pikmin were in your squad, they still had the tendency to wander off and do their own shit, which was really frustrating. Pikmin 2, that doesn't happen so much. It's not just the Pikmin who are new and improved either. Now that you have 2 playable characters, the whole game is made more enjoyable. And this is mostly due to the fact that now 2 people can pull Pikmin out of the ground at once. Which is great, because in the original, one of the things that slowed the game down drastically was actually plucking them from the ground. A problem that is effectively cut in half in this game. Also, some of the treasures act as upgrades, like special suits that make you take less damage. And my favorite, the Rocket Punch. What, don't feel like using the Pikmin to fight? Then don't. Just punch the shit out of them yourself. Fight your own battles. The game is incredibly atmospheric, and so much of that is owed to its great graphics and soundtrack, especially the latter. No example of this is better than the submerged castle. You come across this cave, it's covered in water, so you can only bring blue Pikmin with you. But it gives you all these scary warnings that the cave is full of every elemental hazard imaginable. So you're at the edge of your seat trying to navigate this hazardous cave of death with only blue Pikmin, while this ghostly hymn plays in the background. And then this happens. Now that I brought this guy up, it's probably a good time to talk about the enemies. Honestly, the enemies in this game are one of the best parts. They really stepped it up from the first game, especially the bosses. In the first game, you'd be fighting these assholes. Now they have feet. It's fucking doomsday for you now. In the first game, you'd be fighting this daddy long-legged spider who steps on your Pikmin. Now he's fucking shooting at you. Remember this thing from the first game? Now he has a female equivalent who literally gives birth to ravenous larvae every 5 seconds. Yeah, this is a weird game. They really went all out on the enemies too. They even created a logbook for all the creatures you find, complete with a Latin name for each, and observations made by Olimar. And on top of that, Louis actually explains a way to cook and serve everything you find. It's pretty funny. Shuck from the shell, bake on high heat until crispy, then dip in a pot of melted milk chocolate, lip smacking sweet. beer batter and deep fry for a down-home flavor you won't soon forget. Wogpools can be eaten raw, but they're much more flavorful when steamed or grilled. Also heavenly in risotto. Feel free to experiment with this lush ingredient. Inedible, tastes like chicken. No stove, no problem. This sizzling beast practically cooks itself. Sizzling beast sounds like a porn star, so maybe this is a good place to stop. There's also a log for the treasures, and that's another thing, the treasures. This is possibly my favorite thing about the game, is just the variety of treasure. There's everything from food to utensils to fossils, a floppy disk for the Famicom disk system, Gamecube control stick, you can even find weed for fuck's sakes. Or as it's called in the North American version, Arboreal Frippery. In case you haven't caught on yet, this so-called uncharted planet is Earth, possibly long post-apocalypse, and a lot of the things you find are left over from humans. I mentioned product placement earlier, and that is very prominent here. A&W, 7-Up, Dr. Pepper, French's, Skippy, Duracell. One can easily find these to be shameless product placements, but it seems much more important here. It serves to make the game feel more real. It also helps to put everything into perspective. We know what all these things mean, but Olimar, Louis, they don't have a fucking clue, and they're left in this state of speculative fascination as to what ancient civilizations may have used these things for. And then the research pod goes and tries to make a sales pitch out of it to the people back on their own home planet. Everything about this game seems very human, and that's one of the reasons I love it so much. And one of the reasons I always feel drawn towards this game. Even after I've beaten the game, I have no problem beating it again, and again, and again. I must have beaten this game at least 15 times in my lifetime. Which brings us to the next point, replayability. When you repay the debt, you've technically beaten the game, but there are still more treasures to find. And the game tallies up your statistics when you beat it, like how many Pikmin were born, how many died, how much time you took, which could drive you towards a better score next time. And you know what the best part is? That's just the single player campaign. The game also has 2-player battle mode, which is fun as hell, and better yet, it also has challenge mode, where both players travel through caves, working together to get all the treasures in the best time. It's great, and all of this ties together in what is the absolute perfect sequel to what is already one of the best titles on the Gamecube, and one of Nintendo's best IPs. I strongly recommend it, especially if you enjoyed the first game.